And a wonderful afternoon to you from the KXAN Live studios. I'm Billy Gates, and this is, of course, the Horns Report, where we talk about all things UT athletics. And we have quite a jam-packed show for you today. With me, as usual, KXAN Sports Director Roger Wallace. And Roger, let's just get right into it off the top. The softball team here at UT, given the #1 seed in the national tournament for the first time in program history. Kind of hard to believe considering some of the teams they had with Cat Osterman back in the mid-2000s, around their early 2000s. But quite an accomplishment for them considering Oklahoma got them in the Big 12 tournament championship game.
Yeah, I guess it all went down to that series. Texas finally won a series from OU, unseated them as the Big 12 regular season champ. First time in a dozen years, so the committee weighing that more than a one-game championship on Saturday. And I'm not surprised because I think what they did, that whole body of work, is worth more than the weekend in Oklahoma City. So it doesn't really matter the one or the two.
Right.
Maybe what color jersey they'll wear when they get to Oklahoma City if they make it. I mean, you can look at who they'll play down the road. But that's magical mystery ride continues for Mike White and this club.
Yeah, and with Big 12 Player of the Year, Reese Atwood, Freshman of the Year pitcher, Tegan Kavan, Mike White winning Coach of the Year. We got 5 players on first team, all Big 12. Quite the season for them. Obviously, beating Oklahoma is a big deal. They lose their only conference series to Oklahoma State, which they also beat Oklahoma in their series, but Oklahoma State faltered along the way, so they end up finishing third. But still 3 Big 12 teams in the top, 8 seeds?
5.
Or top 5 even,
Oklahoma State, the number
Oklahoma
5
State's
overall.
They're at that 5 line, yeah. So pretty top-heavy Big 12. Saw some scuttle online about Texas Tech being angry that they didn't make it in there, but other than that, I mean, it kind of really feels like the teams that got in are the ones that should have got in.
Well, what happened in that last weekend in Lubbock when they got run ruled 3 times by Texas,
brutal.
And then had another shot at them to open up for Texas' first Big 12 tournament game and couldn't get it done. So they had their chances. If they had won one of those, maybe they get an at-large bid. So now it all starts this weekend, and then you project, and if they get through this regional, possibility that either the Aggies come to Austin, they're the 16 overall seed, or Texas State, great year in San Marcos, the Sun Belt champs, are the 2 seed in College Station, and they'll get Penn State in the first round. So you could have potentially Texas A&M to get to Oklahoma City, and then maybe another Texas OU matchup like we had 2 years ago for the national championship.
Yeah. Who knows? Could be a fun ride. It's going to be good tournament to see who gets there. So here is the opening day schedule for the softball regional there at McCombs Field on UT's campus. Texas takes on Siena. They are the champions of the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference. I did it. That's a mouthful.
The old MEAC.
The old MEAC. Or the MAC. They play Friday at 3 p.m. on Longhorn Network. It's Siena's first time ever to the tournament. They're the number 6 seed in their conference tournament. They ran through it, win 4 games in 4 days to advance, to grab that automatic bid out of that 1-bid league up there in the Northeast. And the 2 other teams coming to town, St. Francis from Pennsylvania and Northwestern. As we were saying off camera, Roger, Northwestern is usually pretty good.
Yeah, I think they won their 3rd straight Big Ten title. They were in Oklahoma City 2 years ago at the College World Series when Texas and Oklahoma played for the title. Texas did not face them in the World Series. It was funny that Mike White said yesterday after the selection that it starts now, and no matter what team you're facing, they've always got a pitcher up their sleeve. I looked it up, and Northwestern does. Her name's Ashley Miller. She's a transfer from Michigan State. Great numbers. So, again, in this game, now, this is a Texas team that doesn't follow that mold we've talked about where, it's a 2-1 game, and if you've got a great pitcher, maybe that's all you need against this Texas offense. But still, Yeah, it's kind of easy when the number one overall seed at home just kind of pencil them in to the Super Regional, but they'll have to get the job done this weekend and probably at some point face up with Northwestern.
Right, and if they're able to get through the regional, like Roger said earlier, could be a Lone Star State showdown with A&M. That could also be we'll call it a battle for, I don't know, I-35 or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what we could call this, the San Marcos Austin brawl or something with Texas State. Texas State and Texas played twice this season. Texas got them both times 1-0 and is 6-4. So pretty good games with Texas State. Texas State's a good ball club. They haven't played really anybody else. Penn State, who's playing over in College Station, they've played them once. They came to town, non-conference, beat Penn State 7-1. So, whoever they end up playing, like Mike White was saying, they're going to be good. So.
Yeah, and it's a Texas team that's so deep, so good offensively. It just seems hard to imagine that one of these three teams can shut them down, and then they got to lose twice. So seems like a pretty safe bet. The Longhorns will get through the regional, and then it's a best 2 out of 3. So that goes back to the old-fashioned weekend series and see who wins that series to get to Oklahoma City.
All right, so 3 p.m. Friday, Texas takes on Siena to open the Austin Regional. You can catch it on Longhorn Network. And now that's for later. I got ahead of myself. But before we tackle baseball and all of that, quickly, in the last season, Texas is in the Big 12. They've already won 14 conference championships. That's a school record. That's the most conference titles they've ever won in a year. That's not a bad way to go out.
It's been quite a statement, Billy. And not only have they won those, but it started in the fall with the championship.
Sure, with football.
So, there's always been that talk, okay, Texas great in the Olympic sports.
Right.
What about the revenue sports? Well, they won the football championship. They did it in convincing fashion. Women's basketball. So, it's been pretty amazing to see what they've done from start to we're not yet finished.
Not quite.
With this sports calendar year or sports year in the Big 12, but 2 more out there still.
Yeah, 2 more out there. Rowing coming up May 19th. They should, I believe they've won every single rowing conference championship ever held in the Big 12. So probably safe to say they're going to make it 15. And then the baseball team, they've got a chance. It's an outside chance, but they've still got a chance. They'll make the tournament following their final weekend series against Kansas, as we'll get to in a second. So still a chance Texas could make it 16 Big 12 championships by the time the year's over with. So, who knows? Maybe this baseball team gets hot. And they've been playing some pretty good ball up to this point. They've got Kansas in town for 3, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the Dish. They've won their past, I believe, 5 Big 12 series. No sweeps, just wins, 2-1. And very gentlemanly of them, really.
They'd like a sweep, but they haven't been swept either. And in fact,
right.
And again, it's just that one loss to BYU. They won every road series after winning on Sunday against Central Florida. In Orlando, it started in Lubbock, winning their final game of that series, and either it's been lose game 1 and win the last 2, or the bookend games where they started and ended their road schedule with Tech and Central Florida. They won that third and deciding game. So amazingly consistent. They're finally starting to creep back in the rankings. Baseball America got in last week. They move up to 24. D1 Baseball has them at 25 today. The RPI, which is a little bit head-scratching, has them in the mid-40s, and a lot of teams that they took 2 out of 3 ahead of them. But now I think it's a matter of can they solidify a 2 seed in the tournament field, and it looks like unless they really crater here and maybe drop all 5 of these games guaranteed, that they would avoid being a 3 seed. It's funny, Billy, I talked a lot over the weekend. I was in Orlando about, would you rather be a low 2 seed, in other words, a 2 seed where maybe you have to go to Fayetteville, or you have to go to College Station, or right now Kentucky, Tennessee, or would you like to be a 3 seed and go to a Santa Barbara or go somewhere like that where maybe you have a better shot of winning the regional as a lower seed.
Sure.
So, take your pick.
Right.
Everybody's got their opinion. And then you say, well, if you're at a lower national seed, you're going to get matched up with a higher one. Well, okay, but then you're down to a two out of three series,
right.
and you take your chances.
Literally, I mean, it's baseball. Anything can happen in a 2 out of 3 series. Like, let's be totally clear. Baseball is a weird game. And it's funny, you mentioned all those schools that Texas could potentially travel to. I don't know if you did it on purpose, but the schools you mentioned, if Texas was number 2, were all SEC schools.
Well, there's a lot to choose from.
Season, so.
And North Carolina's up there. They could be a top 4 seed as well. Clemson as well, but Indiana State. I mean, they're projected as a national seed.
They're not
maybe
just a
not
basketball
top 8,
school.
but maybe somewhere around 12 to 14.
The Sycamores aren't just a basketball school anymore.
No, you really have to look at some of these schools and go, wait, really? And who's kind of helped Texas is San Diego's having a really good year.
Yeah.
A team they opened up with, the 2 out of 3 at home against San Diego, but they've got a very solid RPI. But we'll see.
Yeah.
3 games this week. They could go anywhere from 2nd to 5th, I think. I think it's pretty realistic they wouldn't drop further unless Cincinnati sweeps Oklahoma this weekend.
That seems unlikely.
Yeah, and 2nd's the big one because you avoid playing next Tuesday in Arlington. You would get that first day bye along with Oklahoma. They're locked in. And then how about Texas Tech? They backdoor in as the 10 seed because their game was washed out in Stillwater yesterday, and they're done.
Yeah.
They're done with Big 12. Had they lost, Baylor would have an outside shot of catching them. They get UCF for 3. So Tech gets the 10 seed. And here's where the other part of the equation doesn't make any sense. Oklahoma's at home against Baylor. They decide to play the doubleheader on Saturday because of anticipation for weather.
Yeah.
Well, Stillwater and Norman aren't that far apart. And they roll the dice, and obviously they couldn't play it. So Tech rides the bus home knowing that they're in Arlington.
Well, pretty fortunate for Tech.
It could be a matchup with Texas.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
They'll play the 3 seed next Tuesday. And so, after the Longhorns won 2 out of 3 in Lubbock, and we all know how everyone feels out in West Texas about Texas.
Yeah, they're best friends,
They
right?
might get another shot at the Longhorns after all.
Like the Longhorns are always on the Red Raiders Christmas card list.
A little bit,
let's be honest.
On their minds. I don't know if they're on their Christmas card list.
Living rent-free in their head. Kansas in town Thursday, Friday. Saturday, baseball there at the Dish. 6:30 start time on Thursday to open the series against the Jayhawks. Just announced literally about hour and a half ago, the men's basketball schedule for the SEC, just their opponents and the venues, no times, dates, or anything like that, announced by the SEC. Interesting for the Longhorns, no trip to Rupp Arena to take on Kentucky, and no trip to Tennessee during the regular season there in the SEC. Kind of a soft opening, if you will, for Texas there in their first season.
Great opening for Texas fans. I mean, you get the home and home. We had a hunch it would be with A&M, with Oklahoma and Arkansas.
Yeah.
But then you get not only Tennessee, but Kentucky and Alabama. All 3 of those coming to Moody Center. So we don't know what the non-conference looks like. That's always been a big question because schools like to play the high-profile games, and there's either a multi-team event or the one-off games. They're going back to New York City. They're going to most likely go to Vegas and play early in the season. But, man, you get and again, Big 12's great, and it's the best basketball league. But, you don't quite get excited about the names when it's over and over. So this is more of a newness thing than better opponents coming to Moody in conference play than a Baylor and an Iowa State and, Kansas State, things like that, Houston. So, well, here you go.
So popped them up for you. I had it ready to go. Yeah, so home is Bama, Arkansas, Auburn, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and A&M. And then on the road, we were saying no Kentucky, no Tennessee, no Alabama on the road, but they got to go to Arkansas, Florida, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Oklahoma for the rivalry, South Carolina, Texas A&M again for the Lone Star State Showdown, and then Vanderbilt up there in Nashville. So,
I wonder, Billy, about if they made a conscious effort. Let's not send Chris Beard to Austin in his first game as Ole Miss coach against Texas. I just can't imagine that wasn't the thought. Let's just avoid that and let them play each other.
Sure.
And then most likely flip the schedule the next year.
That would make sense to me.
Yeah, I think so.
It seems reasonable, and I know you're a reasonable guy.
And Texas fans certainly will not treat him the way Tech fans treat him in Lubbock, but still, you just kind of eliminate that variable and have Texas go to Oxford.
You eliminate a problem before you actually have the problem, basically.
Alrighty,
well, we'll call it good for this episode of the Horns Report. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. For Roger Wallace, I'm Billy Gates, and we'll talk to you again very soon.